I now call the October 17, 2023 Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:46. Consideration of claims. Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the claims.
Madam Chair, I move that we pay the amount of $1,837,387.27. The Elon credit card in the amount of $3,153.30. Manual checks in the amount of $1,726.26. Payroll and liabilities for 10/6/2023 in the amount of $226,572.62 for a total of $2,068,839.45.
And do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Are there any amendments or discussion on the claims?
Your Honor. Mr. Butterfield, is this $1,837,000 for a road? No.
No, and Madam Chairwoman, Councilman, I do not have the packet in front of me, but Mia's here, and she could probably help answer that.
Mia?
Yes, Your Honor. $1,111,336 is for Simon Contractors for the Airport Taxiway Rehab Project. That's pay application number 5 on the project.
And so we get reimbursed for that after we spent the money?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
It's full, or is it a 5%, 95%?
Your Councilwoman and Councilman, it's 93.75 that's reimbursed by the FAA, and then an additional 3.75 that's reimbursed by the state of Wyoming.
So it's 4% us and 96% them?
2.5% us.
2.5%? That's a pretty good deal, isn't it? Thank you. That's all I wanted.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Is there anything additional the committee needs to review or to discuss?
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. In that case, we'll adjourn this meeting at 6:48.
All right, great. I now call the October 17th, 2023 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Councilmember Borders has agreed to lead us in the pledge, and then I will give us the invocations. If you could all stand, please.
I pledge
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the opportunity to meet here together and discuss the business of the city of Riverton. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve here as representatives of our community. I ask you to please bless us that we can, as we meet tonight, have our minds opened and be aware of the needs of our citizens and to be able to understand concerns as expressed and to be able to come up with solutions that will work to the benefit of our community. We are very grateful for our first responders, for our military, for our city employees, and for the hard work that they do. And we ask that it please bless them as they serve, that they will be blessed with safety and with greater knowledge and ability to perform their functions and to have thy protection and assistance throughout all that they do. I ask thee to please bless us as we continue to meet tonight, that we will have a good spirit here and good opportunities to learn and develop and grow and improve. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Would the Administrative Services Director please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Carla Borders.
here.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox.
Absent.
Councilmember Mike Bailey.
Absent.
Councilmember Dean Peranto.
I am here.
Councilmember Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilmember Christy Salisbury.
Here.
And Mayor Tim Hancock.
I am here. The Chair would entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Bailey and Councilwoman Cox from tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. Any discussion? I don't know why Councilman Bailey didn't just call in from Spain. Seems like that'd be the way to go.
Probably
Probably one of the
used to.
first meetings from Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To set precedent.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I do declare we have a quorum present. Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders with the motion, Councilman Peranto with the second. Any discussion or amendments? Are we comfortable with the agenda, Mr. Butterfield?
Your Honor, I'm comfortable with the agenda.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. All right. Council committee reports and council members roundtable. Why don't we go ahead and start with Councilwoman Salisbury because she's on the phone.
Your Honor.
Okay, I apologize. I was unable to attend the October 12th chamber meeting, so I don't have any reports.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Borders?
Your Honor, I just met earlier before this meeting with PAWS, and we're busy planning events that are upcoming for the craft fairs. They're going to have a lot of cool stuff for sale, like dog dishes and cat dishes and shirts and things like that. So watch for those craft fairs to be coming up. We recapped the Paws and Pearls event. It was a banner year. They took in over $67,000. And they have minimal expenses, so most of that goes to the shelter, which is great. I also met with the Finance Committee before this meeting, and I think that's about it for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Peranto?
Your Honor, I didn't have any meetings since our last time we met, but I did want to extend a congratulations to Paul Griffin for the Aviation Achievement Award. That's quite the honor, and he has done a lot for the city and our airport.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for that recognition. I think we had news release that went out on that and shared it on the Facebook page. And we've been really lucky to have Mr. Griffin.
28 years.
Yeah. Councilman Larson?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
All right. Now we're just moving right along. Mr. Butterfield?
Your Honor, I do have a few things just to make note of. The Fix Our Road Citizen Committee meeting was not held this month due to some conflicts with members of the committee. However, it will be held in November, and as a reminder, that's the second Monday of every month at 11 o'clock here in City Hall. The group meets in the bullpen, and we definitely invite the public to attend those meetings, as the committee really focuses on prioritizing improvements throughout the community, and we always appreciate it when the public attends. There will be an airport board meeting this Friday at 8 o'clock, and that will be held here in the council chambers. The Planning Commission will also gather this week, and that will be this Thursday at 5:30. The EDGE Committee had the privilege of meeting last Thursday and received several presentations as the committee had just closed their application period and deadline. And after having received those presentations for funding last Thursday, the committee will now review them and prioritize them for your ultimate consideration at a subsequent council. So EDGE will meet this Thursday as well, and that starts at 7 o'clock. And I stand corrected, that's at 6 o'clock. So if you come at 7, you're still welcome, but you'll miss half the meeting. And that will be here at City Hall as well.
I think you might be a little bit optimistic if it will only be half the meeting you'll miss if you come at 7. The review meetings tend to go long.
They do. I'm laying some optimistic groundwork. And really, that's because the applications that EDGE receives are such high quality. And we're, I think, very fortunate to have the opportunity in our community to support economic development through that half-cent tax. And we've already seen several businesses, large and small, be supported with those funds. And we do, again, encourage the public to attend these meetings. Involvement is the best way for improvement, I think.
When was that meeting again?
That will be this Thursday, not at 7, but at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Here in City Hall.
The Public Works Department has also been working diligently to prepare and put on a Parks Community meeting. If you remember in some of our council meetings, that was a desire of the council and the community to prioritize and discuss improvements specific to City Park, and then also we're going to talk about Sunset Park. We have very engaged groups that want to provide recreation fields for soccer or facilities for soccer, for pickleball, for tennis, for basketball, even roller derby. So this community meeting to discuss these parks improvements will be October 25th. That's a Wednesday, and the time will be at 5:30. And while we're on the topic of parks, I think it should be noted that the playground is missing at Aspen Park, if you guys have noticed, and it's on purpose. The rec district, the school board recreation district, provided grant funds, and the Public Works Department will be installing improved playground equipment at that little pocket park that we have on Sunset.
Mr. Butterfield, could you remind everybody of the Parks Community Meeting, what day that will be?
Yes, Your Honor, that would be October 25th. That is a week from tomorrow on Wednesday, and that will be at 5:30. The Public Works team is going to be pushing out a press release related to that, and then also ensuring that we're communicating through several mediums so that the public knows. The other thing that I would say staff is working on and paying attention to is an upcoming State Loan and Investment Board meeting. As you remember, we did apply for a grant for HVAC improvements, and SLIB will now be considering that application along with other local government grant requests. So we will be attending that meeting. And with that, Your Honor, I will stand for any questions and yield the floor.
Thank you, sir. Just had to make sure I had that in my calendar. Any questions for Mr. Butterfield? Great. All right. Well, I just have 3 things to report on. I was able to attend most of the EDGE meeting. I would say that, all right, my watch thinks I'm talking to it. I would say that we have a lot of people in our community that definitely have an entrepreneurial spirit, and it was a really good opportunity to see presentations, hear from them, hear from different ideas. I think we have a very engaged citizenry in Riverton, and I'm really grateful to have that. And it was good to hear from them. It's some unique ideas, unique thoughts. Looking forward to hear what EDGE has to say and what their recommendations will be. So, I appreciate their hard work on that. Our EDGE committee, they ask the important questions. They kind of chime in with things that we need to be talking about, and I appreciate their work. I was able to go to a barbecue at the Soldiers House. It was a good opportunity. The Soldiers House provides a lot of services for veterans in Fremont County. The Soldiers House is over near the Child Development Services, Lincoln. They have a lot of different events that they have there. They do like acupuncture. They do free, at least I believe it's free, mental health treatment for veterans. And so I would strongly encourage, if you're a veteran and you were looking for support, reach out to them. It's a nonprofit. Just recently, I think, a new nonprofit. They have an executive director now, and they just do a lot of work to try to make life better for veterans in Fremont County. So it was a good opportunity to go to that barbecue. Was able to bring the family. It was a lot of fun. It was great to rub shoulders with a lot of our veterans here, and so I appreciate their hard work. Today, I spent quite a few hours over at CWC. There's a community planning meeting put on by the Wyoming Business Council. And the idea behind it is to try to come up with economic development plans, follow through, that kind of thing. It was a really good opportunity. We have folks from the chamber there. Ron Fabricius had Idea Inc. there, or I should say Alan Moore and Kevin Kershishnik, which is basically Idea Inc. And a lot of good things came out of it in terms of where we're at, where we can go from here. That will continue tomorrow, and I really appreciate the Wyoming Business Council putting it on. One of the things that's the most enjoyable about it is we got to spend time with Mayor of Shoshone, Mayor of DuBois, Mayor of Hudson, and individuals from Lander and other and from those communities. And hopefully we can have some good ideas that come out of it. It's a training as well as some discussion and leading discussion in groups. And part of the purpose of it is to try to have something that our group will actually be following through with the discussion and making sure that we're actually getting some action done. I would note, for people that don't know, well, that was nice. Soothing. We have a master plan for the city of Riverton that was put together in 2019. It is a really, it's a great document. We have a lot of different things in there, a lot of different things that we have, that we're wanting to strive for. We have goals for fiscal year 2024. I think as a city, as a council, as city staff, we're very focused on accomplishing what we can and having goals that we can reach. I would strongly encourage our citizens, if you haven't read the master plan, it's a pretty easy read. I mean, surprisingly, sometimes you have these long documents that are, I mean, it's an easier read than Gideon versus Wainwright or a court case. I would encourage you to look at it and see where the ideas that you have for our community might fit within that. We have a plan for the parks. We have a plan for economic development. So I guess I'd just encourage more use and review of that so that people know kind of where the city wants to be going and where we are going. It was good to look at the economic development portion of that plan and see that we have accomplished a lot of things that we have set out to do. For example, the Downtowners has got the Main Street program here. That was actually one of the items in the economic development portion. And so that's been good to see that. So anyway, I would encourage review of that, and I guess let you know that if you are interested in things to improve economic development in Riverton, we're interested to know what your ideas are and would encourage you to reach out, and the Chamber's wanting to take a bigger role in that, which I think is great. Wind River Development's wanting to take a bigger role in that. So I guess there is a need. So that's it from me. I'll stop meandering on. We were already doing so well on time. Next up on the agenda is communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience, if you'd like to speak regarding an item that's scheduled for a public hearing, you'll be given an opportunity during that public hearing. If we have another item that's on the agenda and you'd like to speak up during the discussion of that item on the agenda, feel free to wave your hand, get our attention, let us know. We would encourage you to speak then also. If you have something you'd like to speak about that is not on the agenda, I would encourage you to come up to the podium, just tell us your name and a group that you're affiliated with, if any. I'd ask you to keep your comments to about 5 minutes for an individual. If you're a part of a group, I'd ask you to keep your comments to about 10 minutes. So is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? You're just going to leave us with your letter, Mr. Warpness, is that it? Okay. Anyone else? All right. Going once, going twice. All right, moving on. Would the Administrative Services Director please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, October 3rd, 2023, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, October 10th, 2023, work session. Approval of the minutes, October 17th, 2023, Finance Committee meeting. Approval of the Finance Committee recommendations, October 17th, 2023, County Plat, Polson Estates.
Thank you. Are there any items requiring further discussion? Yes.
Your Honor, the Finance Committee met earlier this evening and agreed to pay considerations of claims to be paid in the amount of $1,837,387.27. Elon credit card in the amount of $3,153.30. Manual checks in the amount of $1,726.26. Payroll and liabilities for 10/6/23 in the amount of $226,572.62, for a total of $2,068,839.45.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilman Paranto with the second. Any discussion or amendments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. All opposed say nay. All right, I vote aye. Motion passes. Extra Mile Day proclamation. All right. I've got a proclamation to read regarding Extra Mile Day, which is to be November 1st, 2023. Whereas Riverton, Wyoming is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas Riverton, Wyoming is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Riverton, Wyoming is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Riverton, Wyoming acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 550 extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2023. Now therefore, I, Tim Hancock, Mayor of the City of Riverton, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2023 to be Extra Mile Day. I urge each individual in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, or world a better place. All right, I will give this to you, Mia. I always find I want to say something when we read proclamations like that, but they usually word them pretty well and there's not much to add. I guess I would encourage you to put on your calendar November 1st and find ways you can go the extra mile. One of the things I liked about the proclamation is it's not just for your community, it's for your family, for your place of work, your country, whatever it is. Being able to put in just a little bit of extra effort, I think, can have large dividends. All right, next up, Citizen Board Appointment, Planning Commission, City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Planning Commission is established by Riverton Municipal Code and it has several important duties that range from advising the council on urban planning, land use, urban renewal plans, additions to the city, et cetera, et cetera. The Planning Commission is made up of 9 members with 2 alternates, and there recently has been a vacancy for the Planning Commission. As with other committees established by statute, the mayor has the ability to appoint members to the Planning Commission with the consent of the City Council. Mr. Eric Carr has submitted a letter of interest to the mayor to serve on the commission. Mr. Carr has previously served as a member of the Planning Commission and was also a member of city staff as the Community Development Director. And city staff does recommend the appointment of Mr. Carr to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Eric Carr as a member of the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. Any discussion? Amendments?
He's free.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I will say I really appreciate his willingness to serve on the Planning Commission.
Oh, yeah.
We still have 2 vacancies for alternates on the Planning Commission. So if you're interested in serving on the Planning Commission, let us know. And I really appreciate that we're going to be privileged, I guess, to have service by Mr. Carr on the Planning Commission. Anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance 23012, second reading, loitering. Captain Romero's report.
Your Honor, Council, ordinance 23-012 was presented to City Council for consideration on October 3rd, 2023, and passed unanimously on first reading. It expands existing ordinance that addresses loitering on school property. Proposed ordinance includes loitering on private property. It does not apply to public spaces nor right-of-ways. It only amends the existing municipal code to include private property. Additional details and information regarding these issues have been included in your packet, and I'd entertain any questions if you have them.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor.
Mr. Paranto.
In the definition, which is on page 11, it does still say upon public or private school property. Should it just be school property or should it be private property and school property, or should that public still be in there?
Captain?
Your Honor, and I'd be happy to help on this as well. And for the proposed ordinance, we didn't change anything as it relates to the verbiage for the school property, and it does reference in 908030A that it is unlawful to loiter, to camp out, or to lounge on any public or private school property. And then I'm reading through the definition now where it states to loiter refers to the act of being idle, to wander aimlessly, or loafing on the property of another which has been clearly designated or marked as closed, or no loitering without the lawful purpose, and includes, school premises or private property owned or leased by another. The previous definition included references to the school, as it states, the property there, but the definition has been amended if you look at page 11 of your packet.
Mr. Dick,
I couldn't hear any of the three speakers. None of the three of them spoke into their microphones.
okay. We'll try to do better at that. The question I think that was posed was regarding, we've been discussing where this would entail and had been talking about loitering being something that takes place upon private property or upon school property. And so Mr. Butterfield was just explaining that it would continue to be the property of another or on school property. So that was most of the discussion there. Sure. I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll have the Administrative Services Director read the ordinance, and then we'll have a motion, and then we'll have discussion. And then if you'd like to come up and speak, you're welcome to. Yes, sir. Administrative Services Director, could you please read ordinance 23012 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Ordinance number 23-012 on second reading. An ordinance amending Title IX, Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare to revise Chapter 9.08, Offenses Against Public Peace and Decency, Section 09.08.030, loitering, camping out, etc., upon public or private school property of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 23012 on second reading.
So moved.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Borders with the motion, second by Councilman Peranto. I guess just to be aware, Mr. Dick, the new language here in terms of discussion, what was proposed was a little bit of a change from what had been marked previously. The definition section would be changed to say, for the purposes of this section, the term to loiter refers to the act of being idle, wander aimlessly, or loafing on the property of another, which has been clearly designated or marked as closed or no loitering, without a lawful purpose, and includes school premises or private property owned or leased by another. So the language before that we had was to loiter means to be dilatory, spend time idly, to loaf, to wander aimlessly, and it had said that it was school premises or private property, or refusing to leave after they've been requested to do so. So because that's kind of captured already in trespassing, I think that was part of the idea behind the change, and trying to make it so that it's businesses that are closed or marked as no loitering. So that it's kind of similar to a trespassing, but a little bit different, where if the building's closed, you can't be just sitting there hanging around on the property. But feel free to come up and speak. I just wanted to let you know, since we read the ordinances by title only, and I didn't know if you had the packet and had the change that was proposed.
But, to me, the idea of this ordinance is to actually give officers another tool to work with. Is that not correct?
Right.
Well, in my opinion, I think what you're going to do is give them a can of worms dumped in their toolbox. And the reasoning is defining loitering, as it states. Stand or wait around idly without a parent. And there is where you run into a problem. It says apparent. That leaves it to the officer's discretion. And any time that you have officers having to enforce a law that does not specifically state something, they are put in a position of deciding, well, are they actually breaking the law or not? And there your trespass law is quite simple. If you're on the property, that's trespass. If they are not supposed to be on that property and they are, that's black and white.
Mr. Butterfield or Ms. Harris, do you happen to have a copy of the new proposal that we could show to Mr. Dick so we're all on the same page?
I can print one, Your Honor.
Do you mind?
No, not at all.
I read it, but they got rid of the language apparent and made a couple of other changes. So it says being idle, wandering aimlessly, loafing on the property of another if it's been clearly designated or marked as closed, or no loitering without a lawful purpose. So not even an apparent purpose, a lawful purpose.
Okay, but what is the, okay, well, I think I actually feel you're gonna handicap your police officers by adding that on. You've got an ordinance that, on trespassing, that is black and white, and I think you're asking your police officers to go make decisions that they may not be able to. You are a prosecutor, and that you may not be able to prosecute in court because it's an opinion situation. And, that's where my problem with this is that I think you've got it with the trespass law if you fine tune that a little bit better than what it actually reads right now. I think a little look at that might behoove you guys before you go adding another law on the books.
Mm-hmm.
And I would appreciate if some of you'd look into that a little bit more and see if there isn't a way of just reworking that and keeping an extra law being off the books. I mean, I'm the one that might be told to move on someday, who knows? So I guess that's it. I'm just afraid that one's going to just add problem on top of problem, and it's not going to fix what one you got, so.
All right,
Okay,
appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Any other discussion from the council?
Can I belabor a point?
Oh, sure. Feel free.
It still reads funny to me when you read the item 9.08.030, loitering, camping out, etc. If you read it, it says upon public or private school property. But that's if you read it together. But if you pause, as you're apt to do, it says upon public, pause, or private school property, a separate place, or any other private property. It looks like it says upon public property as one of the items.
Well, so you're saying it would make more sense in the title to say upon public school or private school property?
Something other than upon public or private school property. Because it reads as public property, private school property, any other private property.
But that's where if there were a comma there, then that would be the meaning, right? It would say upon public, comma, private school property.
Or supplants a comma, as does and.
Well, yeah, but there's the or at the end. I understand your concern, Mr. Paranto.
It's not a concern so much as semantic.
Yeah. We can look at that. Do we want to change that, public school or private school property or any other private property?
Your Honor, we'd be happy to bring forward a change on third reading if that helps clarify the title of that, so that there is no question as to whether it is public property.
We want the least amount of ambiguity.
I think so.
Well, and I think that's been part of what we've been discussing is wanting to have less ambiguity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And-
Your Honor,
I'm sorry.
if I could,
Yes.
I would just like to maybe have you explain, as a prosecutor, how you feel this would hold up. As I'm sure it's been looked at, but just for the public.
So I will say, when we were looking at this before, if you had gotten the packet with the very lengthy articles talking about loitering, a lot of the issues have been, what's the purpose of it? Is it narrow enough or is it too vague? And I think that's what Mr. Dick has expressed concern over, right? If you get in a situation where you have to have police officers really make a difficult judgment call as to, kind of like he said, saying apparent authority even, right? It becomes difficult. I would say I think this looks better from how I read it. I think it makes sense. And I guess it wasn't in the packet, they were in the weekly report, I should say. There's some really, this becomes a lot easier to enforce because you're making it dependent on two things. The fact that the business says closed, and it clearly says closed, which most of our businesses will have a sign. You'll have one that says open, one that says closed. Or that there's a sign that says no loitering, which would apply to any property. To me, it feels more like trespassing, but just a little bit different. I was talking with Mr. Dick after City Council last week, for example. There's nothing that says a business owner couldn't have a sign that says no trespassing after hours that would have a pretty similar effect to this. But it's a little bit different if you're just kind of hanging out or you're there. I would say part of what I think this is meant to address is people being on business property after a business is closed. And so this is a lot more narrow than just saying you just can't be on property without having an apparent purpose. So I think it's pretty good. I mean, I'm willing to still consider any thoughts as to whether it is or isn't, but to me, I think this really fixes the concerns that I had, and it narrows it down to the concerns we've had expressed from business owners.
If I could, I'd like to add on to that question. So as far as alleyways and dumpsters, would this be part of that?
I don't think so, because we're not talking about, let me back up. Dumpsters, for the most part, are not necessarily on a right-of-way. They're accessible from the right-of-way, but they're on the person's property. So if it's on the property and the business is closed, I would think this would say, no, you shouldn't be hanging out near the dumpster. It's part of the property.
Okay, thank you.
Alleyways,
In the alley.
right, and that's, I guess, where it gets a little bit different. Alleyways would be a little bit different. We're not talking about necessarily any public property. We're talking about private property. But I would say, dumpsters, I think, would be considered a part of the person's property, right? I mean, the whole point is you've got it in the dumpster because you want to get rid of it, but that doesn't necessarily make it okay for somebody just to go rooting in it.
Well, and that's the thing, the mess that people leave after they go rooting through it, and then the business owner's left to have to clean it up. And that just doesn't seem fair to me. So I was just wondering how this would affect that particular instance.
I would think that if the business is closed, if the dumpster's on the business owner's property, this would apply, saying you don't get to be there without any lawful purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
So a simple sign on private property, no trespassing after business hours, implies keep out.
Right?
And so what is our position after that? So somebody calls and says, hey, there's a happening going on. Case in point, I live next to the elementary school, and it's not unusual to have adults or young teenagers over there playing at the school at 11 o'clock at night, or parking there and racing their automobiles. So that would cover it.
What do you think, Captain?
Yeah, I feel that that would cover it to an extent. It depends on the purpose. Some of the issues we've come across dealing with some of the people hey, I've been told I can be here, so then we've got to try to verify that.
But not 11 o'clock at night.
It's still something that would still require verification to see if they were allowed. If they're told they are allowed to be there, then they're allowed to be there. There's nothing we can do with it.
Okay. I'd like to see that report that they're allowed to be there.
But what do you think, Captain? I mean, in terms of, I guess, or Mr. Butterfield, question regarding dumpsters or alleys. Anything to add to what I had said, or?
Yeah, I would agree. It would depend where the dumpster's at. If it's on their property, then yes, it's still considered their property, and that would apply. If it's in the alleyway, like you see some, then that's considered public, it wouldn't apply.
Mr. Butterfield?
Yes, and specific to that question, I agree with Captain Romero. And then included in your packet is also the verbiage of the existing trespass language, and there are 3 provisions, without repeating what's in your packet, where trespassing can be enforced when a private property is appropriately signed, or when someone is orally notified by the property owner that they shouldn't be there or the individual shouldn't be there, or it also allows for written notification. So there are 3 contingencies that have to be met. One of the 3 contingencies in order for officers to enforce the trespassing. As Mr. Sollers and Chief Hurtado have worked on this loitering ordinance, the language that has been proposed by the attorney is also to include that verbiage as it relates to a business being closed, so clearly designated or marked as closed. And I think that's the addition that this loitering ordinance adds outside of what's already listed in the trespass ordinance. I know for some properties, a challenge that is confronted by the officers is if it is 2 a.m., it's hard for that private property or business owner to orally or verbally notify someone that they shouldn't be on their property, because that business owner is likely sleeping at that time. But this does allow the police officers to say this business is clearly marked as closed or designated closed, and they could cite the individuals for loitering.
And I think some of the discussion and what I had talked about with with Chief Hurtado about this, he had I think one of the communities that he worked in had a prowling statute. And the idea behind that was basically somebody who's on a property and would be casing the property for later burglary or whatever it might be. And I think part of the purpose of this is to capture behavior that would fall within that. You know, someone who's sitting there hanging out after business is closed, trying to see the best way to get in or whatever that might be. We don't have to wait until they actually break a window or get in a door. But I guess we are always willing to consider looking at language and thinking of different ways of doing things. So if you're thinking this might not fit the bill, or if you speak with someone and they're kind of like, hey, I don't know if that would be enough or would work for this, we can always talk about it. We've got another reading if it passes tonight.
I think my question was just kind of a follow-up to Mr. Dick and to exactly how that would stand up in court. And I think the question's been adequately answered, for me at least.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I was going to mention, I appreciated it took me 3 attempts to get through it, but I did appreciate the additional verbiage that was shared in your weekly newsletter, that there's a lot of interesting, I found it really, I don't know, you guys probably eat that stuff up, but I found it really interesting that since the mid-'60s, this has been a question. And then how it was addressed over the years and counter-addressed, and that most of the time, anti-loitering affects a lot of the litigation surrounds loitering ordinances on public property. So after reading that, when I went back through this and I was kind of reading through it, anytime you have the word public in something, it can be misconstrued. As an idea, we can just strike it as superfluous and remove public or private school property because it's either going to be public or private school property. So we could just eliminate it. And it shows up throughout the ordinance in a few places. But I found it really interesting as a read. It was a little nappy, but in a few places, but it was really very interesting. And it's not a conversation or an ordinance that I looked at lightly because there are a lot of facets to it and a lot of input. Because depending on the community you're in, it could be used to target certain groups or whatever. We need to make sure that it fits ubiquitously across all people.
Well, and I think some of what was discussed in those two was the idea of vagueness, and really some of the examples that they gave. It was funny because some of the language they used was without any apparent means of support, right, which we used to have that very language in our vagrancy ordinance. And so wanting to be able to fix that. Yeah, probably. So anyway, I do think that this is much better than what we've discussed, but we still have another reading, and if it passes tonight, and we can keep discussing, and certainly appreciate feedback. But yeah, it was a helpful.
It was.
It wasn't as easy as a read as the Riverton Master Plan. Riverton Master Plan is an easier read than those were.
Let's hope.
I'm telling
Your
you.
Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to say I think this ordinance addresses a lot of the concerns that the community's been bringing up lately about this problem in our town. So I think it's a really good idea to get this in place. Just it gives our police officers a tool to enforce it.
I would note I don't prosecute for the city. I prosecute for the state. So I would not be enforcing this. Just on that note. All right. Any other discussion or questions or comments?
No, I'll shut up.
No, you were great. I thought it was a good read too. I enjoyed it. It was long though. All right. All in favor of passage of ordinance number 23012, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Butterfield, Captain Romero, Chief Hurtado. Although he's not here, Mr. Solers, I think addressing some of those concerns and looking at it carefully and trying to think of some ways we could still address the issues we're dealing with, but also have some more options to our officers is helpful. All right, public hearing and consideration of liquor license, Mount Everest Indian and Nepalese Bistro LLC. Administrative Services Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before you tonight for consideration is a restaurant liquor license application submitted by Mount Everest Indian and Nepalese Bistro LLC, which will operate at 1616 North Federal Boulevard. The applicant has submitted all of the necessary documentation and paid the required licensing fee. Pursuant to state statute, the liquor license cannot be issued until the license has been certified as complete. The applicant is completing a clerical matter pertaining to their lease agreement. Proper notice to the public has been advertised. Therefore, the staff recommends the conditional approval of the retail license to Mount Everest Indian and Nepalese Bistro upon approval and certification by the Wyoming Liquor Division.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved?
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilman Paranto with the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I vote aye, motion passes. I now declare the public hearing open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I'd ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium, identify yourself for the record. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this liquor license? Yes, sir. Come on up. If you could come up to the microphone and tell us your name.
Good evening, everybody. It's me Santosh Sedai from Nepal. We are planning to open our own restaurant in Riverton. Here it's in the United States. I have in a lot of state and lot of place. I seen the everywhere is Indian restaurant, but I didn't see the in Riverton. So we came here for you guys, and we are serving the mouth-watering dishes. If you guys really happy with us, please keep support and then come to try our restaurant. And our Indian food is Asian food. Sorry to say, my English is not good, so maybe if you guys not understand, so I'm sorry. Please keep support and then give your chance. Keep try our food. It's different than other, so please try. Just I want to say that's all.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Your Honor, if I may, I would say that I had an opportunity to frequent their restaurant last week, and it's wonderful establishment and great food, so we appreciate them being here.
Good. Always nice to have more options. Anybody else? Chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. I vote aye. Motion passes. I declare the public hearing closed. Chair would entertain a motion to conditionally approve the application for a restaurant liquor license for Mount Everest Indian and Nepalese Bistro LLC for the remainder of the April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024 liquor licensing term.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders with the motion, Councilman Paranto with the second. Any discussion, amendments?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
this is not an additional license in the city of Riverton, but a transfer, correct?
Ms. Harris?
Your Honor, this is a restaurant license, so it's not a transfer, it is a new license. We're limited to the number of retail liquor licenses that we are allowed within the city, so this is a new restaurant license.
So this formula is 60% food, 40% revenue from liquor, supposedly. I mean, they're not in the business of selling liquor. They're in the business of selling food, but as a side, you can have liquor with your food.
Correct.
Good?
Yep, I'm fine.
All right. Any other questions? All right. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. I vote aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Welcome to town.
And your
Glad you're
English
here.
is way better than my Nepali, so.
All right.
I think if he spoke longer, we would get on to his, it takes you about 15 minutes and then you've got it.
Right. We'll talk more. That'll be good. All right, FFA grant application for the airport terminal. Mr. Butterfield's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will be brief as the council has considered this application before. As part of the bipartisan infrastructure law or the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act passed in 2021, the FAA has created a terminal improvement program. Essentially, $5 billion has been made available to improve terminals across the entire country, and they have made available grant opportunities where $1 billion of the five can be applied for a 5-year period. This would be the third time the city and Central Wyoming Regional Airport have applied for these terminal funds. Our intent is to expand and improve our hold room. It should be noted that Central Wyoming Regional was built prior to 9/11 and the advent of the Transportation Security Administration. Therefore, we've had to retrofit a lot of the secure hold room space and also the required screening equipment into what we had built prior to the advent of TSA. So our purpose is to expand the hold room, make the terminal more comfortable for our passengers, and also plan for the future. As we know, the CRJ 200, the 50-seat jet, only has so many cycles remaining in their lifespan. They're not being replaced by manufacturers, and we have to be prepared for an upgauge in aircraft, and we should have a terminal that matches that. So pursuant to our grant policy, we have an ability to submit grants and then come to the council if the grant deadline didn't quite line up before the council meeting. The grant deadline was yesterday. We did submit a grant for terminal modifications, and we hope to receive your concurrence on that application. If we do not receive it, we will rescind the grant application. As denoted in your packet, there is a match requirement for these improvements should we be awarded the funds, and these improvements are denoted in the airport master plan. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to support the submission of a grant application to the FAA Airport Terminal Program to improve the Central Wyoming Regional Airport's passenger terminal.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Paranto with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 I vote aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Edge Soccer Application, Public Works Director's Report. I don't know why the S's before directors throws me off. It's the same thing with Administrative Services Director's Report. It's just, Brian, Mr. Eggleston.
Thank you, Your Honor and Council. As you recall, back in April 1st, 2023, the City Council was reviewing EDGE applications and potentially awarding funding for organizations in the city. One of those applications was a application submitted by the Riverton Youth Soccer Association for expanding their soccer facilities on the west end of Monroe, basically north of the existing Rhine Park. At that time, City Council requested that staff evaluate potential impacts on our water system, in addition to the financial and personnel implications, should the city assume responsibility for the upkeep in the future. Excuse me. After evaluating the proposal, the city could manage water delivery through our system. However, it would require that Rhine Park and the new complex be watered on alternate days. This area is serviced by a single reservoir. It's a 600,000 gallon tank at the intersection of Hill Street and West Main that services that whole area of town. During peak periods, that tank has to be supplemented from water from the water plant tank. Additionally, in extreme severe cases, this water tank, feeding it from the water plant, is only able to fill it to a static level. It doesn't completely refill that tank. So basically all we're doing is we're keeping the tank at a certain level and still continuing to feed that area. More concerns downstream, we could turn on additional wells to help supplement that tank and hopefully supplement the downstream water pressure in that area. Those are fairly complicated maneuvers, moving valves, opening valves, changing valves. So in our opinion, we wouldn't recommend that direction. I think if you look in there, that at least the proposed outdoor facility right now is for 4 acres, and it would require approximately 1,905,917 gallons of water a year, which would be similar to the watering practices we have now at the other parks. The cost of production, we see an additional increase on the water fund for $13,913.19 a year, approximately. if staff assumes responsibility for the maintenance of the parks, which we can handle, we didn't have to increase our budget just for operations by $6,127. That doesn't include the personnel expenses. Currently, our staff believes we could take on that extra park without the addition of extra staff. However, that's assuming, if we assume responsibility for the weed control, snow removal, parking lot maintenance, et cetera, that could potentially add to an additional seasonal employee. We feel that the best solution in our recommendation would be to drill a shallower well just for irrigation to maintain that system and keep it separate from the city's water system. We feel that's probably the best direction to go at this point. We do recommend that you do approve based on our recommendations. And I'd be willing to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions?
Wait, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So was that a yes or a no?
Yes, fund them with our recommendation.
And the second question is, how deep of a well are we talking, 40 feet or 3,000?
Oh, no. There's some shallower wells in, actually Willow Creek waters their facility with a well. I'm not sure what the depth of it is, but potable water wells in that area are anywhere from 800 to 1,000 feet.
Must it be potable water to water
No.
on?
No. I'm saying that's a potable water well.
Oh.
These wells would be significantly lesser depth.
When we had a well up on Big Wyoming, it was 46 feet, and they had all the water we could handle. So I'm not thinking in that area it would be much deeper since there's live water in that ditch east of Ryan Park.
Yeah, I have no idea how deep the school district went. I'm guessing more in the range of 300 feet.
Wow.
That's just a guess.
Mr. Saltzgaber, you want to come on up? Tell us your name.
Hello, everybody. I'm Josh Saltzgaber with the Riverton Youth Soccer Association. To answer your question on the well, we did some homework on this just because weighing options of having city water versus well water, and come to find out, Willow Creek, their yard and playground areas actually ran off of a well, and spoke to Fremont Well Service. They actually put that well in. It was drilled to 400 feet, and they have 60 gallons a minute at 60 PSI, and they can run just about any kind of sprinkler setup they'd ever dream of. So that's not a bad option for us. And, after talking with Brian, that avenue and working with some of those folks who have kids in the program, they're willing to partner with us and help us out. So that's not a deal breaker for us if we have to go after a well, because there was still going to be significant expense putting and tying into city water. So, that it doesn't change the scope for us drastically. It's, kind of spending money on a well rather than spending money on tying into city services. We were still going to have to, have a lot of legwork and that to tie into the city. So that kind of gives you an answer on the well. We've looked at the costs, and it's definitely feasible. So that isn't going to derail plans for us by no means.
And I'm assuming the funding wouldn't actually be going to the Riverton Youth Soccer Association until getting ready to sign like closing documents and that kind of thing. Is that correct?
That would be, I would assume that's how it would work. I actually don't know how. I think Mio knows that better than I do.
Your Honor, should the council make the motion to approve the allocation of the funding to the Soccer Association, the staff will draft an agreement between the city and the Soccer Association and bring it back to the council for approval.
And would we want to make that contingent on getting the well stuff figured out before funding would occur, or how would we want to do that?
I think we need to look back on the original application. And if you can give me just a moment, I can look at that to see what the original purpose of the application was for, whether it was to create or help build the actual facility itself, which would include perhaps a well to operate.
I believe it was to buy the land. And, the buying of the land was contingent that we could actually come up with a water source to turn it into fields that would be usable.
Well, we can get some of those details figured out.
He's correct. It was, we tabled it because we had the money. We thought it was a great idea, but we didn't know, the city of Riverton didn't know if they had the water available. And they do have the water available, but a well of their own is better for the city of Riverton.
The application reads to purchase the land.
Okay.
And if we needed to draft up an actual foolproof plan of this is what the well is going to cost, this is our plan, we could provide that before, just to give you some warm, fuzzy feeling that this is well thought out, this is the avenue we're going to go with, and that's where the water would come together.
Well, and I guess the only reason I say that, not to be particular or anything, I guess, but yeah, to be particular because it's public funds. We want to make sure that it's going towards the use that we want it to. And so we'll be able to discuss with Mia. We'll get the details sorted out. I guess I just don't want to have a situation where we would pay money to Riverton Youth Soccer to purchase property, and then things didn't work out with the property to be able to use it as a soccer field, and then you're stuck with property that you don't want, and then maybe we have to be stuck with property that we don't want do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've been in those kinds of situations before. It's not pleasant for anyone. But we can get the details figured out with the MOU and everything.
Your Honor, I was going to say we could explore that together with the Youth Association, and similar to the other agreements that the council has approved, we do have reversion clauses and other types of agreements to protect the public funds and also to support a great cause in the community. And I do know that the Youth Soccer Association has several partners that are interested in having this succeed, and we'll work with them to draft an agreement that provides confidence to the voters that the half-cent fund is going to where it should, and also to support a great recreation cause.
I think that's the balance, and I'm excited. I think this would be awesome. More opportunities for youth and bringing more people to the community, and I think that's what we've been talking about from the beginning, is being able to have tournaments, being able to have more places where our youth can play and use. So I think it's definitely a worthy place to be putting the half-cent funds. So, good.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I'd also mention, too, to explore some options with our rec boards as well, both the county rec board. I know the School District 25 rec board might still have some funding available, as long as it can be utilized before the end of the year. So if there's a well or something that needs to be drilled, you could come and approach them as well.
And to that note, we are actually meeting with them and applying for some additional monies in November. So, and that would be snowballed into this project to hopefully fast track it even more to where obviously we're gonna have winter before too long. So, our hopes would be to have a lot of things in place come next spring to where as soon as the snow is gone and we have, growing weather, we could potentially have everything designed where a sprinkler system goes in and possibly even enough funding to to do sod to where we had grass immediately, and it wouldn't be able to be used immediately, but by fall potentially. So that's one of our goals.
Great.
Take what we can get.
If I could make one more point, Fremont County School District 25 funding is January through December. So there may still be some funds this year that you could apply for. If you could kind of get something kicked off and get those funds expended before the end of the year, then you could reapply in January for next year. Just to give you, it might give you a little bit of additional funding to kind of keep things going.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I would note that the rec board has been a very staunch supporter, I think, of sports in Riverton.
Yeah.
It's been good, so, all
Always supported us every year. So,
right.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you speaking up. Anything else? Anything to add, Mr. Butterfield, Ms. Harris?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, seeing no one else, I move we close the public hearing.
I don't know if we had a public
Oh, we
hearing.
didn't have a public hearing on that, did we? Well, then never mind.
I would entertain a motion to approve the EDGE funding for the Riverton Youth Soccer Association, as we had discussed previously and had kind of had it set aside.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. Any other discussion?
Felt like a public meeting.
It did, didn't it? Mr. Saltzgaber did great.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
just before we vote, that means we will get some type of MOU between the two?
Yes, sir. And that's what we were discussing a little bit, is just making sure we get the language out that's going to keep that balance with making sure we have the accountability to the voters, but also supporting something that we think is a investment in the community.
May I add one small thing? That they report to us on a regular basis, the usage. I mean, you notice we've had the hospital here often. Not. And so I would like some accountability. That's about all.
Well, and I will say, just so you do know, that the hospital is one of the applicants for funding this next go-around. But we can definitely look at that. We've had some discussions of, and since Ms. Harris has been heading this up, we've had some discussions of ways that we can make sure we're
Kept
doing
in the
things
loop.
right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Council goals update, city administrators report.
Thank you, Your Honor. And, I just had a thought that it may be beneficial to our viewing audience, those here and at home, if I project the goals on the screen so that they can also follow along. I know you as council members can see it in front of you, but if that's okay with you, we'll drop the screen and post those.
Sounds good, thank you. Or we could just turn the podium around, at least for people here. Does that need to go down further?
Thank you. I appreciate the brief delay there, but I think it will be valuable just so that folks can follow along. Your Honor, really the purpose of tonight's discussion is to report back to you on the goals that you set last February that helped guide us through the budgeting process. And more importantly, to give you a chance, as we're 1 quarter into these fiscal year 24 goals, to verify that these are still the goals you want us working on. Goals don't work if you just leave them on the shelf all year. So I think it's a good practice to bring these to you quarterly so that staff can report to you and also that we can receive your direction. I don't have a long presentation, and hopefully that's easy to read there on the screen, and if it's not, I apologize, but it shows all of them. As a reminder, again, the City Council did meet in a goal-setting session and established 7 priorities that would guide fiscal year '24. Those priorities are communication and transparency, infrastructure and facilities, community and economic development, city operations, budget, beautification and image, and safety and law enforcement. Underneath each of those 7 themes, you set at least 2 or more specific goals that staff can work on accomplishing. I did provide you a spreadsheet, and it includes updates from each of the departments through the first quarter. And I'll hit some high notes. I won't take the time to read each of these individually, but this will be an opportunity for you to see if this type of reporting is sufficient. I will provide this digitally to you as well if you'd like. But when it comes to ensuring our website and social media platforms are up to date and relevant, that's the first goal under communication and transparency. I would like to express my gratitude to Max and Mia and the team for regularly keeping our Facebook page current. Through the first quarter, we've had 4,506 visits and 13,453 reaches. We're in the state 82nd percentile in publishing more content than peer organizations. And it's interesting to note that the post that has been most engaged this quarter was the Wings and Will Fly-In event. So I would say from our social media standpoint, at least through Facebook, we're doing well. We do recognize that we have areas of the website that we need to make more current, and we'll be working on that as a goal that you have. But I am very pleased, and again, thank Max Batista for his work on our Facebook social media page. When it comes to engaging and informing the public through different mediums, one thing to make note of is the work of Chief Hurtado in securing a grant and then also exploring EverBridge as a notification software specific for emergencies. This is going to be very critical for our Public Works and Police Department in notifying the community. Staff has also participated in several demos to explore other software options that will help push and receive information to and from community members. You have set a budget of just over $3,000 to support this effort, and we're still exploring that. And we hope to provide something that will be in addition to the EverBridge software, and we're trying to find the right software at the right price. Some have been significantly over the budget that we have, to the tune of over $25,000, which had a lot of really cool applications, but maybe just a little bit more than what we currently have in our budget. Under our infrastructure and facilities, a lot of credit needs to be given to our Public Works Department, the Fix Our Road Citizen Committee. One thing that I'm very proud of this team is they engaged in a significant pavement preservation contract this year. This has been something that the committee force has prioritized. So several streets received a slurry seal application, and I believe that it will pay dividends on the streets that we have and keeping good roads good. We also have a significant project with Davis Lane, upgrades to the water and wastewater treatment plant. Another thing is $3.2 million worth of capital improvement projects have been applied for supporting grants. The other goal under infrastructure and facilities is to ascertain priorities and plan for improvements. We will engage in this as we go through the year, especially with our capital improvement plan and our budget process. But it's also something we do all year. Shoot, the Force Committee, or Force, meets every month. and they really strive to ensure that those funds are used appropriately with the feedback of the community. The Urban System Committee has met already this year for the same purpose. We have 2 master plans underway right now that are assessing our infrastructure and helping us prioritize improvements. Under community and economic development, one thing that was important for the council was to support community events, and it was listed that 2 events in particular would be supported this year. And I believe the council wanted to look at, obviously, the Rendezvous Committee or the Riverton Rendezvous Balloon Rally, and then maybe something in the off-season or the winter. And that, I don't know if we've moved very far on, and we'd love to get your direction if that's still a priority of yours. However, in the first quarter, I'm really proud of what the city of Riverton has done to engage community members. We had a National Public Works Week truck show in front of City Hall. The airport division did the Wings and Wheels. Police department did the National Night Out and coordinated with several entities to pull that off. The balloon rally was a huge success, as it always is, and a lot of work on our staff members and community members that support it. So it's just amazing what people do. And as a reminder, the council has budgeted $5,000 to help support this goal. But I would like to get a little feedback from you, especially when it comes to maybe that off-season event, if you want it, anything specific outside of what we're already doing. You are asking us to collaborate with local and regional stakeholders on economic development. We are doing that through our regular involvement with IDEA Inc. and other entities, but we can continue to work on that goal. Under city operations, you would like us to focus on informing the community of our operations. That will be critical when it comes to snow season, but it has been critical as we've looked at some rezone opportunities and proposals, land use proposals. A work session that was held by the city council and staff to discuss the snow and ice control policy, I think, meets that goal. Another goal that you have is to develop financial and operational contingencies to ensure that operations can weather and anything that comes at us and move forward. We do have new team members in administrative services that will help provide contingencies for operations, and will, I think, as an organization, are far better protected against any change than we have been in a very long time, especially when it comes to finance, HR, payroll, things of that nature. And the Public Works team has initiated a rapid intervention team to respond to emergencies, and without being redundant, the chief has looked at emergency communication opportunities. Under budget, I appreciate that you've set a goal to be more engaged in the budget, and you have been. So thank you for that, and thank you for setting that as a priority moving forward. We're not doing budget yet, so I'm pretty happy about that. We'll report more on that in the spring. But one of the goals that the council had under budget was to ensure that we were protected as an organization against unknown threats, and that could be threats in the economy, or it could be threats in economic hardship, financial climates, inflation, et cetera. One thing I do think that we've done is we have restructured the administrative services department without increasing the bottom line of the approved budget. So we are attempting to weather unknowns. We do need to get people into those positions still, and we're working very hard to hire and recruit. And much of our team deserves credit for working long hours, working hard, shouldering additional duties across the board, and I'm so proud of our team for doing that. You've got a team that's committed to the city of Riverton. Our finance clerks are staying late nearly every single night because there's so much business in town. They're not complaining, and they're not demanding things. They're just getting the job done, and I really appreciate that of that team and all of our other teams that do that. Moving on. I said I'd be quick, but it's hard for me to do that. I want to highlight our Administrative Services Director for seeking out ways to reduce our interest rates on loans. That's something that she's done to ensure that we can weather financial issues by paying lower interest, and then also shopping the best investment opportunities for us. We are invested in Wyoming Class, WyoStar, and right now Wyoming Class is performing in a manner that is positive to us, and Ms. Harris pays very close attention to that. She manages the funds in a very responsible way. Under support community events and improvements, I won't repeat myself there, but that is something that you have prioritized in two sections of your goals, and I think that shows your level of engagement with the community. Under beautification and image, promotion of green space and trails, our Public Works Department is working with community members to seek grants and improve our green spaces and trails. And this is outside of what our operations teams are doing, which again, we're down one full-time staff member all summer and seasonal employees, and still getting things done. Got a heck of a team. And then improved parks and trails. We've talked about the new park at playground at Aspen Park. We're investing monies in removing trees, and then the bathroom facility at Teeter Park was also refurbished as well, just within this first quarter. The last priority is safety and law enforcement. Again, another group that's doing amazing things for our community while being short-staffed, and we appreciate that. Under the direction of our new chief of police, he has engaged the community. He's engaged Main Street. We have foot patrols now, people literally walking the beat or driving the beat. And that visibility in community policing, I think, is making a difference. New ordinances have been proposed to help support law enforcement and safety. The chief of police is very engaged with our local tribes and getting to know them. I think it's pretty incredible that he was recognized by one of our tribes in the short period that he's been here. So I appreciate the connections he's making. And the Neighborhood Watch program, that's still being supported. There was a goal specific to creating a safe atmosphere along the trails and public spaces. One thing that the police department is working on is this concept of community service officers, and that's something that can support that area and accomplish that goal. We're very close to rolling that program out, especially after receiving grants that were applied for by your police department. They're also seeking grants to improve camera and visibility in that area for security cameras. The last thing that I'll mention was improved traffic enforcement. We've seen an increased effort for traffic enforcement. We've also seen partnerships. The city has been a partner in the state DUI task force for some time, and that meets every single month. And that's where the interlocal agreement for mutual aid came from that you recently passed last meeting. And also the push to have our officers out enforcing traffic and keeping our community safe has been a priority of the department. That, my friends, was not quick, but it was as quick as I could go. And at that, Your Honor, I think it's more important that we hear from you about your goals, if you want to change anything, or if you want to redirect staff and make sure we're focusing in the right direction. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Well, do we want to change anything? Any questions, concerns, comments?
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. So I understand you still have openings, so can we just kind of, for the public, have you tell us what the openings there are and how they can apply?
Absolutely. The easiest way to apply is on our website. We also directly link with GovJobs as well. And as far as openings, we do have patrol officer openings, and we hope to continue to see improvement in that area and support our officers. We do have an opening as a finance clerk position, administrative assistant. Thank you. Administrative assistant position. We do have a deputy court clerk position open. We have an equipment operator 1 position open, a weed and pest technician open, a parks laborer position open. It feels like I'm still missing one.
Custodian.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. We do have a custodian position as well. So we do have openings, and we encourage folks to submit an application.
No, I'm looking at the webpage.
I was thinking you're looking to apply.
The webpage that Mr. Butterfield is, there's a little cookie on there, and you can pay your bills on this page, but also you can apply on this page. No, my janitor days are over. I did that in high school.
I will say, I mean, in terms of very directly, if you wanted to apply for the police department, to make things very simple, go to rivertonwy.gov, go to departments, go down to police, click on police, and then there's highlighted in blue, click here to join the Riverton Police Department, and it will take you straight to our government jobs page. rivertonwy.gov.
I wonder if I can make a comment.
Yes, sir.
I like the goals that we set forth, and it's interesting that to see it outlined the way you've presented it in the spreadsheet, because we do these things, and it's kind of neat to see that there's a culmination at the end, that the work that's been done amongst all the other work also reflects the goals that were set forth, and we are making progress in that way. I don't know that I would really change them, seeing the progress that we've made and the direction that we've gone. I think we're making huge strides in our city. So we're making good better.
I agree.
May I make one suggestion?
Yes, sir.
We go through this up to 6 months, second time around, and see where we are. We haven't really played enough with it for three months. We need 6 months to see where we are if we were to change or improve something.
Well, I think what had been discussed was to have a quarterly report, kind of like we do with the finance report.
Yeah,
Not at the same time, because you can't handle that much excitement in one meeting.
yeah, that's true.
But,
This is a lot of stuff.
well, in the finance report, it's just so much. And this is a lot. Mr. Butterfield was saying he was apologizing for how long it took, and I was like, I thought you did quite well at just getting the salient points and telling us where we were at.
It just shows a lot of effort by a lot of people.
Well, and I think it's important for our citizens to know that these goals aren't just here. Number one, they're here where we can see them whenever we're on the dais, which I appreciate. I think of all the things that we can have that always in front of us, it's good. And then number two, to know that they're not just empty, that it's things that the city staff has been working hard on. It's very good to see all the work that you've been putting on this. I guess I would encourage, if we can, have some form of this maybe available on the webpage. I think it would be good for our community members to see where we're at with them as well, if it's something you feel comfortable with.
Your Honor, we'd be happy to make anything public, of course. And maybe, Your Honor, I just do have a question, because getting back to, I think, the intent of supporting 2 major community events per year, I know last February there was a lot of discussion and interest in having like a winter carnival type event, but at this point we're in October, and I'm not sure if there's a community champion for that effort yet, if you're expecting city staff to be that champion to kind of bring something together. We want to be responsive to you. Obviously, that off-season or winter season would be a lot of fun to have an event like that. But again, I'm not sure if there's a community champion pushing that forward yet. So we would like to get your direction, especially as we've, I think, already been doing a pretty dang good job at community events and involvement, and we'll continue that. But I would love to get your feedback and make sure we're following your direction.
We're going to have a community event for snow removal. That's coming up sooner than we want to talk about.
We could have a
little partay.
a big snowball fight. Actually, that
As
sounds
long
fun.
as you throw the balls away from the streets.
Yeah, from the streets into the park. Councilwoman Salisbury, are you there?
Yes, and I would agree with Kyle. I think that it's a little too late this year too, but I do think we should move forward with it sooner next year.
And I think you're right. You and I had discussed this a little bit, and I think I was supposed to follow up on something, and I apologize if I dropped the ball.
Well, I think we had a lot of priorities come up that we needed to address, but it will be fine. We can do it right. Some of the things we were talking about weren't ready yet either, so I think moving forward, I know there's other council members, and you and I have talked about doing something over that winter break, but I do think it takes some planning and time to do it right. So I don't think this, I think it's too soon too. But I did want to remind everybody on November 4th, they're going to have the quick draw and artist showcase up at the college again with appetizers and drinks, and people will have things to sell for Christmas and stuff. So that's November 4th from 4th to 6th at the College Art Center.
Thank you for the reminder. Would it be worthwhile, do you think, and I guess this is a question for anyone on the council, but would it be worthwhile to try to have maybe a one-time event in the spring or something that we do have some, I mean, I think the idea behind this originally was to have that winter break I think we were thinking about something on New Year's. But would it be worthwhile to try to put something in the spring, at least for this year, or what do you think, Councilwoman?
I think we still make it a target and do it where it could be maybe an annual thing. And there's a lot going on in our community and through the chamber and stuff. So I think if we could focus on that time, it could be a great event for Riverton to have something for people to do in that New Year's time period for families.
Are you going to tell us about the new chamber person that you hired?
I wasn't able to attend the last meeting. They did hire Tiffany, and I'll report more after I know more about what's going on with that.
I would say I got the opportunity to meet her today, Tiffany Cortez, if I'm right.
Yes.
She, I think she's going to be good. I think she'll be a good addition. I know that the chamber is really dedicated to trying to get some good directions for our business community and for the community in general, and I think they've got some good people there, and I think Tiffany will help out. So, all right. Well, so then, I mean, I guess let me clarify. Are you thinking of doing something maybe a little bit smaller this year then, are you saying? Or are you saying that we would just hold off on doing an event and maybe try to plan it for a winter event next year?
I think we hold off personally, but I mean, whatever else those other council members want to do, but.
It's not like the money burns a hole in our pocket.
Correct. Well, I think it's going to take some money to plan it and do it correctly, so.
Okay.
Giving it time.
What do you
Mr.
think?
Butterfield.
Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I don't think this needs to be a long-term thing, but we always have the tree lighting, and I think it'd be nice to have the city get behind that and maybe make that even bigger than it has been.
It is something to consider,
We have a budget for that, Your Honor.
right?
It's in the city council.
Mm-hmm.
The money that you haven't spent yet that's so hot. But Mr. Butterfield sequestered that for the city council, not roads, or bridges, or airports, or sidewalks, or snow removal. It was for the city council to decide on usage of that. That might be a larger portion for the tree lighting.
Oh, are you talking the Wyoming Community Gas?
No?
No,
No?
There's a $5,000 budget.
right, okay, you're talking about the 5,000. Right. Well, we can talk about that. I think that could be a good idea. I guess, Mr. Butterfield, if we can kind of look at any ideas for ways we can assist with that or what we could do?
I'd like the other three councilmen here to be here, though.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Well, Christie is here. She's just
well,
phone.
okay then, Mike.
Mike and Lindsay.
Yes.
We could talk about that some more, but I mean, we can at least consider that. That could be a good option. Yeah, I like that. All right, well, I guess that would be a thought, and then well, I guess that's some direction. I hope that's at least helpful.
Your Honor, that's perfect. We appreciate the direction.
Okay. All right. Any other ones that you were curious about in particular, Mr. Butterfield?
No, Your Honor, I think that one just was more time sensitive, and so I wanted to make sure we addressed it for you. The others we'll continue to work on, and we do plan to report back to you after the end of the second quarter of the fiscal year.
Sounds good. All right. Do we need to have an executive session tonight? Oh, thank goodness. Did I say that out loud? I thought I just thought it. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn our regular council meeting tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilwoman Borders. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. All opposed, say nay. We stand adjourned at 8:39 PM. Thank you, everyone.